payroll confirmation. The speakers today will be Caroline Vargas, that would be me. I'm your account manager here at MIG, and Jacqueline Pride. She is our consultant, and she will be conducting our demo later on. Great. For audio controls, you can choose your mic and speakers, or you can use your computer speakers as well. You can also dial by using the telephone. Dialing, there's an option, and the information is provided at the bottom. For questions, you can submit your questions and comments via the panel, the questions panel, and we will have time after our session for a Q&A session after, after we're done with the presentation. Our agenda today is about us, prerequisites, employee self-service, benefits self-service, affordable ACA, Dynamics GP 2013 features, our live demo, and at the end of the session we'll have a Q&A. Okay, so about us, we are experts in the implementation and support for leading and financial businesses applications from Microsoft. Our solutions are Microsoft Dynamics GP, Microsoft Dynamics SL, and Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We have been in business since 1998, and we assist organizations streamline their business processes and maximize their productivity. Okay, so we want to go over our certifications. We are a Microsoft Gold certified partner, and we are recognized by Microsoft Business as being one of the ERP VAR premier providers. We also have CPA. So if you guys are taking this to get a CPA grade, CP credit, please let us know and we'll email that to you. Prerequisites.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. So glad you have joined us today for our discussion of human resources, payroll, and the very hot topic of ACA, or the Affordable Care Act. I have so much information to share. First up today, as Caroline mentioned with the agenda, we will cover the topics of employee self-service, benefit self-service, and ACA compliance. And after we review and discuss the features of each, we will jump into a demo for the setups for HR, payroll, ACA, and you will see that while there are a lot of different setup files available for these, you will only need to set up for those features that you intend to use. And they're quite easy and straightforward in their content, so don't be put off by the large number of them. Once they are set, very little is needed beyond basic updates just to keep things moving slowly. In order to support the new self-service functionalities, Microsoft has added new architecture and workflow functionalities running behind the scenes. Some of you may have heard on one of my previous webinars on that very topic. So we have some basic workflow types. We have requisition entry now, which is fairly new. And we have purchase order workflows. And we also have project time and expense timesheet entry. And what we're going to be talking about would be the payroll time card entry. And today we're going to focus on the areas of HR and payroll. So the workflows today have moved away from their reliance on SharePoint as what they had in the past. And today we have 4 simple areas of setup required in GP. We now use Active Directory to link network users with specific users within GP. And some of you may or may not be familiar with that terminology, Active Directory. It's nothing scary, nothing big. It's just a fancy way of saying that here's the list of all the users in your network. Here's everybody who's entitled to be logged in. And then we, through the GP setups, will link the users from Active Directory to the employee records within GP. So some of you may be familiar with this concept if you are a user of Management Reporter, for example. We also do the same thing there. The setups that are necessary for the prerequisites, there are 4 of them. And the first one is at a system level. And that system level one allows us to do, basically to set up the workflows. It basically enables email for workflow purposes. The other 3 are at a company level, and those workflows are simply, one is to set up the email messages. So when we do these workflows, we email people, we notify them to let them know that something's been done, or perhaps to let them know that they need to provide approvals for something if they're a manager. So we set up those email messages under the company setups. We also have a workflow calendar, and that calendar is where we define what our work days are. Do we open Monday through Friday? Do we work on the 4th of July or not? Do we have Thanksgiving and the day after off, and so on? So we define all of that in the workflow calendar to help set expectations as we're routing some of these emails. And last but not least, that final one is actually the workflow maintenance, where we configure the workflow to say, here is the hierarchy of people, managers, approvers for each of the different workflows. So that's just kind of a brief background on the prerequisites. If we want to jump into the employee self-service now, let's talk about some of the cool new features as they relate to payroll. Per the agenda, we're starting with the payroll side of the house, and then we'll take a look at benefits and ACA after that. We will also, towards the end of the demo, talk about some basic information about the capabilities in 2013 and 2015. Some of you out there listening may be on 2013 and kind of wondering, like, what's new, what's available for me, and we'll take a look at those. So time card entry, customizing your home page, you'll notice, I realize it's probably a little bit small on the screen. You'll have to take my word for it, but there are some check boxes on the customize your home page that allow you to activate some of the new features, which includes that time management. And there's a little screenshot there of time management. You can see what it looks like, and when we go through the demo, I'll show you what it looks like as well. So when the home page roles are selected, this will appear on your home page and be activated as long as your login has been tied to an employee record. If we take a look at the next screen, we'll see a look at the navigation list for the approvals. And so you can enter time cards from the above time management area or from the traditional HR and payroll navigation list. So employees can log in with their web client and see their home page. They can see their time information for the current week, and they can click on current week and be able to enter their time cards. There are also links where they can click on saved, and they can see any saved time cards they have. They can look at rejected. They can look at pending user actions. And if they click paid, which is kind of tiny on there, you probably won't be able to see it, but they'll be able to see time cards that are in the history table. One of the new features that I really like is that on the employee time card entry, there is now the ability to enter start and stop times. So if the source documents that you're entering off of have a start time and an end time, no longer do you have to sit down with the calculator or mentally calculate in your head what the time interval is to enter on the daily rate. You can just put the times in and let it do that for you. So for the employee profile, you can use this page to view and manage personal data. So your employees can go to cards and self-service or pull it off of their homepage and choose the employee profile. Once the changes are made, you can save or submit them to the workflow process. And once a change has been submitted into workflow, if another user goes in to make a change on that employee record or the employee goes back in, the user will be warned the workflow process for this employee is not complete, and that way we're not submitting things in and getting things confused in the workflow as far as granting permissions. And then next up, we're going to take a look at the pay stubs. And the pay stubs, when the users choose to view my pay stubs, they will be brought to a navigation list, just like this on the screen, where they can choose the checks that they want to either print or view and then later print. So they can do whichever they prefer right off the bat, just like with GP reports. You can view them and then print them, or you can print them automatically. So that way, you don't have to print those pay stubs and distribute them. People can self-service that themselves. The pay stubs themselves, there have been some changes made to them. Most specifically, note that in 2015, and I'll try to shout out which of the versions of GP where these changes can be found for those of you who are on a particular version, wherever I know. So that in 2015, for example, the employee pay stub was changed to include a beginning and ending date and to remove that Social Security number from the form. There was a big push by Microsoft R&D to remove all the Social Security numbers from reporting because of just the liability. We obviously don't want to have Social Security numbers laying around where somebody could just glance by and take a look, with identity theft being kind of a big deal. And then next up, if we take a look, we'll see a comprehensive list of benefits. So this page shows the employee and employer paid payroll benefit contributions. Note that if you want to allow the employee to change their benefits, you would want to look into that benefit self-service module in the Advanced Human Resource series, which we're going to take a look at after this topic. And that window is very dynamic in that it will pull whether you're using human resources or payroll to store your information. If it doesn't find it in HR, it will look to payroll to pull that information. Employee direct deposit. Here you can change your direct deposit information, and for each account that you set up, you'll obviously need the bank routing number, the account number, and the account type. A great feature is the stop direct deposit action, which allows employees to stop all direct deposits and get a check instead. And that just enables them to take care of those kind of mundane things themselves and puts the burden of the routing number and account number on the employee instead of, handing a canceled check or something like that to a member of HR or payroll and having them take care of it. W-4s. W-4s can be updated and submitted as needed. Note that unlike Business Portal, there's no longer a need to load a W-4 form each year. Yay. So now every year it will automatically change based on the new regulations or changing regulations for submitting W-4s to the IRS. So that will be updated for you automatically. And then employee skills and training. We can track information regarding skill sets in training and certifications that employees have participated in, along with the expiration dates for those. And that includes education, that includes test, skills, and a tab for training history as well. So if you're in an industry like IT, where people have Microsoft certifications, for example, or Cisco certifications, and you need to track those and make sure that you maintain currency, or if you're in a healthcare environment and you need to make sure that people have certain certifications in that area, this would be one way that you could track it. So benefit self-service, as we mentioned, Many of the screens show a mixture of HR and payroll information, so let's take a look at some of those benefit screens. In addition to other employee self-service functionality, Microsoft released this new and improved redesigned benefits self-service functionality that allows your employees to enroll in their company benefits online. So whatever benefits you offer, they can go in there and sign up. So no longer will you have to gather the paper documents from your employees and rekey that information into Dynamics GP for the benefit enrollment selections that your employees made. This will make health insurance and life insurance along with retirement enrollment potentially very simple for the HR administrators or the payroll administrators. The benefits administrators, whoever they happen to be, will be able to open up enrollment periods for their employees, allowing the employee to do the data entry portion of it, and they simply review and post the enrollments right into human resources and payroll. So if, for example, your employees make a mistake on it or they're missing something, your benefits administrator can simply reject that information and it goes back to the employee and they can refill in whatever is missing. They don't have to start over again from scratch. They have the ability to just kind of pick up where they left off. So here we see on this benefit screen a few of the items I would like to emphasize that are kind of near and dear to people who have gone through open enrollment. So human resources obviously is not required. You can link directly to payroll benefits and deduction codes. You can set validations for the state, for example, that you have to enroll in the plan. This happens a lot with things like life insurance, health insurance. There's an easier integration with Microsoft Excel for reporting purposes. And most importantly, the benefit enrollment period window is very easy to use so that you can roll out that enrollment to a large group of employees or a single person who's onboarding. You have the ability to attach multiple plan documents to a benefit using either PDFs or Microsoft Word documents. There are also user-defined enrollment information, always important. Sometimes there are special things unique to your industry or your company. And then, as I mentioned before, you can return that benefit enrollment back to an employee instead of having to delete it out. So that gives you, it obviously gives you both options. You can delete it out if you want to, but if you're just rejecting it because of a few missing pieces, it goes back to them and nobody has to rekey all of that information. So that gives you more flexibility during the posting process for those benefits as to what you want to post at a particular time. And just overall makes it easier for your administrators, and who doesn't like that? As far as deployment options, as in the past, with these options, we have 3 available to us. We have the traditional, they call it the rich client. I've always referred to it as the fat client, which may not be very nice, but that's where you have the install on your workstation. We have the new web client, which some of you may have heard me talk about on previous webinars. And of course, we always have that terminal server, Citrix remote application or remote access available to us as well. So we have several deployment options available to us, and the things that we've been talking about will work on any one of those 3. Oh, the wonderful GP time management application. I really love the fact that, and totally pleased to announce, that the time management features run on Windows. They run on the Apple iOS and Android devices, and some of you have probably heard me talk about Business Analyzer and the fact that it also runs on those 3 types of applications. Really a big thing, and we all have our favorites. Obviously, some of us are tied to our Apple iPhone or iPads, and some of us prefer Windows tablets, and other people have Android phones or devices. And it's just really nice that Microsoft has taken the time to develop so that their newer applications will run on all three of those. So the time management piece, which you're looking at on the screen, you can run it run it natively in whatever particular application you typically work out of. Yes, the Affordable Care Act. This has been a topic of big discussion for quite some time now. We've seen a lot of changes that were required because of the Affordable Care Act, and for quite some time. And I know many people were asking me, what does this mean for me? How's Microsoft going to support it? And of course, in the early days, all we could say is nobody really knows yet because those regulations hadn't been put into place. We did see a phased implementation approach to this from Microsoft, and that's primarily because we saw the same from the government in terms of the mandatory reporting requirements were kind of phased in. So with those mandatory reporting requirements, Microsoft wanted to kind of lay the foundation as soon as possible. They began by implementing ACA tracking mechanisms within the year-end updates last year. So the 2014 year-end updates included some changes, and in addition, they've made some changes throughout the year because of additional mandatory reporting to make sure that you'll be able to successfully generate the 1094C and the 1095C forms at the end of 2015. Those forms will be included in Q1 of 2015. So those are actually in place so that we can run those at year-end. And if there's any updates or any changes to the forms, of course, the year-end tax files will show those updates as well. So the changes that were made, obviously these are going to be for folks who have Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 or higher, because that will be the lowest supported version. If you're running GP 2010, might I remind you that your support has lapsed for that in terms of payroll changes and payroll updates. So you need to be on 2013 to get the year-end tax updates or higher. Obviously, you can be on R2 or you can be on 2015. And the human resource management module obviously will be required for the Affordable Care Act, and we'll see as we go through the demo that that information specific to Affordable Care Act, or ACA for short, reside within the human resource module itself. So if we take a look at some of the tracking available to us, to support ACA, we obviously saw some changes in the HR and payroll modules. ACA tracking via benefits with additional coverage codes, dependent tabs added on, and the support of year-end editing for changes and forms printing for the purposes of the 1094 and 1095C have been included. And when you look on these screens, you can see, for example, in that it's a little quadrant, if you will, 2 screens up above and 1 below. If you look at the top screen on the left-hand side, you'll see that Affordable Care Act information with the offer of coverage codes, which are part of that ACA requirements, and the safe harbor codes. That information now can be tracked within GP on the benefits themselves in the HR module. So we'll take a look at those in a little bit. And then if we look also on some employee dependent information, you'll see healthcare coverage information. And if you look on this employee record, you'll see there's a dependent tab added as well. So let's talk a little bit about the roadmap, like how did we get here, where are we going? And if we step back and take a look at the roadmap, you can kind of see from this graphic that 2013 and 2015 kind of helped pave the way for the changes that were needed for the Affordable Care Act and to better the HR and payroll structure so that we could support self-service at the same time. So it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of thing. Yeah, we got to put that functionality in there for ACA, but the good news is, hey, we wanted to revamp and provide that support self-service as well, so it kind of worked out well. In 2013, you'll look and see that the primary focus, and even for the first three there, it was all web client workflow focus. So you can see there's a lot of functionality in there for web client. And in 2015, there were changes also made in the workflow, kind of continuing that onward battle, and changes in the architecture. And I think some of you have probably heard me talk about that service-based architecture changes that were made to the underbelly, if you will, of Dynamics GP. It's not really something that we see. It's there, though. It enables a lot of the features that we use. And that was critical for us to get some of the new features in 2015. And in 2015 and going forward, we're seeing a refining of the functionality for those changes. So you can see in 2015 and 2016, they're focused on the top features being requested by customers and functionality and technology changes, which brings me to a point that I would like to share with everybody there, and that is if you are a current GP customer and there are things that you think, man, I wish they would put this on the screen, it would be so helpful, or I wish this or I wish that, please reach out to Microsoft via your customer source login. And if you don't have a customer source login and nobody at your organization knows how to set you up, please reach out to somebody at MIG. We can assist you with finding out either how to do that or who at your organization can do it. Because on the customer source website, there is the capability of submitting requests and voting on other requests that people have made. If you see something, go, yeah, that's a good idea, so-and-so put that in there, and I'd like to vote on it. You can vote on it, and the more votes that things get, the higher up the list it goes. And Microsoft really does listen to feedback from the customers and the partners on what new features are most important, most well-liked, or what things do we really hate that we wish that they would change. They're open to listening to that, and that voting process is what bumps things up the list. So if we take a look at some other features, in 2015 R2, because we said again in 2015 we're kind of focused on those architectural changes, and you can see that the things that are highlighted, hiding or showing the Social Security numbers on payroll and HR reports. The self-service user type was added in 2015, and that is to support, obviously you don't want to waste a full user license of GP for the self-service people to log in. So we added a new user type in 2015. Prior to that, we had full user licenses and we had limited user licenses, which were for the folks that just had inquiry access, no transactional capabilities. And now we have a third type, that's self-service. Employees in 2015 R2 were allowed to view their W-2s and have access to that time management app as well. And you can see some of the other features that were added in 2015 as well. But the most important things relating to our topic today are the ones that are highlighted. Those were the ones that the self-service piece was made possible because of the architecture changes that were made. And if we take a look at our next slide, we're going to talk about some things specific to human resources and payroll. So we're going to go back a little, not a lot in time, but we're going to kind of go back and look at some overall things. So there's always a lot of confusion about, like, what do I get if I get a starter pack, a GP, if I just buy the generic license, what's included, what's not included, what are some of the changes that have been made. And you know, I've been working with Dynamics GP for 16 years now. I've seen a lot of changes in these areas. It used to be, you know, you had to pay for payroll employee licenses, in essence, depending on how many how many employees you had in the system kind of determined your licensing. And now Microsoft has backed up and said, look, we don't really care about that. And now with your starter pack, doesn't matter how many employees you have, the licensing is the same. And with the starter pack, all the things that you get for free with that starter pack, for payroll management, you get that unlimited payroll. So we also have the ability to do direct deposit. So you can add payroll funds to employees' banks, and it can be banks, it can be a savings and loan or a credit union through an ACH transaction or an automated clearinghouse transaction. We also get federal mag media. We don't have to pay any extra for that. So those of you who have a certain number of employees, as you know, you are required to file mag media. And to maintain that compliance with government reporting in GP, we have the capability of generating mag media information. Also, we have Payroll Connect. Now is included as part of the service pack. And Payroll Connect allows you to transfer data from ADP into General Ledger. So if you have journal entries coming from your payroll from ADP, you can eliminate the need to rekey that data into GP. On the human resources side, the active employee account is also unlimited, so there's no more bracketed pricing relating to the number of active employees that you have in the system. And you have this manager and employee self-service. We've always said employee self-service, but it's really for everybody. And that allows you to, you know, attract employees and keep people happy by allowing them to do some of that self-service stuff themselves as well. And then we have position control, and you can manage, if this is applicable to you, you can manage labor budgets and human resources based on specific job functions and a specific head count. So you can apply data throughout the human resource and payroll system to enforce the business rules that you've established and to manage the movement of human resources throughout your organization. So all of those features are available to you with the service pack, yeah, right, with the starter pack. And the starter pack functionality is very robust today. Now, if you have additional features that you need, in the next slide, we have the extended payroll and HR pack, which provides functionality for people who just need to bump it up to the next level because of the complexities within their organization. Some of the specific features that are covered under the extended payroll or extended HR pack, advanced human resources. And advanced human resources, if you think that you need this, some of the features that are covered under it would be tracking employee certifications and licenses. We talked about those earlier, and training requirements to help them meet whatever regulatory or government compliance is part of your organization. We also have advanced payroll and that would include certain functions such as pay policy manager, labor accrual manager, advanced labor reporting, and payroll hours to general ledger functionality. So if you're in an environment where you have labor unions, you're probably going to need that advanced payroll to meet those needs. Also, part of that functionality is the PTO manager. And the PTO manager enables you to control and to set up paid time off policies. So if yours is rather complex and your vacation and sick time policies have unique criteria to them, you will probably want to look at the extended pack for that. And then last but not least, we have the benefit self-service. So if you're interested in reducing the paperwork and the manual entry that we've taken a look at and we will continue to take a look at by allowing those processes online, including yearly benefits and change of status and so on, that is covered under the extended pack as well. So in GP 2013, there were obviously some code modifications and pay code history edits added in for those of you who have seen the updates for 2013. Duplicate check verifications, making sure we don't do duplicate checks, and some of the FICA, TSA deductions and default alignments and things of those natures were added in 2013. And if we take a look at the next slide, the payroll extensions for 2013, we added the deduction in arrears. So there are templates and reminders set up around that, and you can also disable that DIA or deduction in arrears report from the check process if you're not using it. There's also a payroll integration to payables. So you can summarize the voucher types for federal tax, remove leading zeros, and customize the voucher description options. Those were all added in 2013 for the folks that had the payroll extensions. In 2013, Service Pack 2, not R2, but in Service Pack 2, the payroll check date was changed. And prior to Service Pack 2, just to give you a little bit of background, when you opened the payroll check inquiry or the payroll transaction inquiry, the default sort order displayed the checks by the check number. Now the default sort order is by check date and descending order. And you can switch the display between ascending or descending, and it makes it a little more helpful. I love this feature, by the way. I would have voted for this. I didn't, but had I seen it out there, I would have definitely voted on this. It would have got a total thumbs up from me. Just being able to change that sort order, but most importantly, by default, coming in and seeing the most current things first, and then rolling backwards just makes a lot more sense. So that was a great feature that was added. 2013 for human resources, they added life insurance information, vets tracking, so being able to denote if somebody is a special disabled veteran or a Vietnam veteran or armed forces, medal veteran. Those types of things are important for tracking, especially if you're a larger company. And the requisitions list was added in that version as well. And then on the next slide, we can see for Service Pack 2, they added some additional things, most importantly being that you can save an applicant's email address directly on the applicant card. You don't have to go to another area to do that. So they added it right there on the main screen, just kind of making the user experience a little bit easier for everybody. And then we have GP 2013 for those folks using advanced human resources. As we mentioned before, the PTO manager. They added some functionality, including a detailed visibility in the PTO balances and updating the human resources calendar, some year-end closing warnings, making sure that everything is accrued properly, shall we say. And under advanced human resources, they enabled the capability to label some of those user-defined fields and put on a password so that you could not delete any type of history or certain type of history without a password, just protecting that a little bit. So those were some of the things that were added in those versions, and I would like to, at this time, kind of flip over and share with you guys some of those features within Dynamics GP. And as we said before, and we'll flip the screen over here in a minute and you'll be able to see my screen. And let me just share that with you. And you should see it in just a second. Looks like it's active. And here we have Dynamics GP, and this is 2015 R2 as a frame of reference. And this is my home page. And you can see on my home page, I've chosen my time management to be front and center. So you can see for my time cards, this nice little boxes of information showing how many saved time cards I have, how many rejected, how many are pending user action of some sort, how many have been approved, and any vacation or sick leave balances available. Looks like the system administrator doesn't have very much vacation time, kind of stinks. And then down below, and you can see as I hover over these, I can drill into them. Here's the I need to enter time for a pay period, recall a submitted time card, view or update my skills or training. So you can see all these functionalities available to the users in this in the time management. And again, remember, we said this time management, people can access this not only through GP, but also it is a application that can be seen on a Windows tablet. It can be on an Android device, or it can be through some iOS like iPad or iPhone. So I can click on any one of these to view my pay stubs and things of that nature, and it shows my current week. Of course, we have strange dates in our test environment. Don't be put off by that. But it would show my pay codes and how many hours I've logged to those various pay codes for each day of the week. Now I'm going to toggle over to, because I have a lot of stuff to show you and not much time to share it with you, I'm going to toggle over to HR and Payroll, because one of the things we said that we wanted to do was to show you some just basic setups of HR and Payroll, and show you some, most importantly, some of those ACA or Affordable Care Act screens as well. So most importantly, almost everything, right, revolves around the employee. And so if I were to click on an employee and pull somebody up here, when I look at the screen, of course, we capture at the employee level some basic information about that person. And you can see the mandatory fields in red and bold, and the things that are maybe not mandatory, but perhaps we do use them in our organization, but at least I can see the mandatory at a minimum fields I have to be filled in to initiate this record. And you'll notice at the bottom, I have a Human Resources tab, and depending on the employee, when I click on that, I'm going to see their HR status, and maybe some personal information here, some of that vets information that we talked about, maybe some extra fields that have been activated by HR. And one of the things that we've talked about in the past is that the information for HR and Payroll are somewhat shared. A lot of the information that is traditionally HR-based, like health insurance and life insurance, also impacts payroll because we have to deduct for those things or maybe recognize those benefits for them, or maybe we're doing things like accruing some PTO, whether it's sick time or vacation time. So those files, the lines between them are very blurred, and so whether you're using HR or whether you're using payroll, you're going to see some duplication of that information across both of the modules. So we have a basic employee maintenance screen, we have a go-to button, and we can go to either payroll or HR off of that screen because of them. And I can toggle over when I'm setting somebody up and add in their information. So if I wanted to, for example, set up their pay codes, whatever those happen to be, or take a look at them, for this person, I can toggle between, and I can see that this particular person has bonus pay, holiday, here's their salary information. And again, you're going to see this human resources button on the bottom that I can toggle back and forth to see the HR related information. I can do that, or I can also go directly to that information straight off of the cards. So I can toggle around if I want to, use the go-to buttons, or jump directly from screen to screen. So if I take a look at, for example, deductions for this person, and he has a number of them. He has 401k, he has some insurance, and you can see on these screens that we're capturing the payroll information here, and benefits as well. Same type of thing, we can set those up here. And then on the HR side, we may also be gathering benefits information. If I scroll down, you can see that I have benefits information. And these are going to be segregated into different categories. So I can take a look at, for example, health insurance, which is a biggie, right, from the Affordable Care Act standpoint. So if I pull up one of these records, I would be able to see that for that person, any of my employees, their Affordable Care Act information, again, this offer of coverage codes that are important for ACA reporting, and the safe harbor codes for every employee. And let me just see if he has anything set up here. For any of these different people, for their different insurance coverage, medical insurance, whatever it happens to be, I can see the codes that are tied for each one of those, and whether or not the benefit is, and there's different statuses, so whether it's active or inactive, whether they waived it, because that's important, whether they're not eligible yet, if it was terminated, if it's in COBRA status, if that person's on family leave of some sort, or just pending. I have a number of statuses to help with that reporting of those transactions for ACA purposes. So a lot of new features have been added in to accommodate for the Affordable Care Act. The other thing that I would like to show you on the HR side, we talked about some of the PTO transactions. Let me scroll up a little bit. This is more on the payroll side. I did want to show you the PTO information while keeping an eye on the time. For my individual people, if we have PTO codes set up, we can set up multiple schedules for vacation and sick time. So you can see I have two categories, vacation or sick time. And the thing that's interesting is as I'm setting up these codes, the PTO codes themselves, I can create these and then tie these to individual people. Once I do that, once I've set those up to use and share with people, those particular PTO codes can follow a number of complex calculations and matrices as far as the calculation of them. So if they have a waiting period, if there's some carryover maximum, or if there's some life-to-date number of vacation or sick time that has been for hours that have been worked and accrued hours, I can track that and I can see that information here under the employee PTO maintenance, but also my pay policies I can set up on the front end, and those pay policies allow me to set up by position, department, shift, and track actual and hypothetical as well. So that information for PTO transactions, very, very beneficial. If I pop this open here, you can see that I have a number of tracking for my employees, which include the benefits and, or I'm sorry, the dependents and beneficiaries for the employee. Again, from an ACA compliance standpoint, we need to know who those dependents are, what their relationship are, what their ages. So if they're young or a college kid or just a toddler, either way, that tracking is built in for the dependents as well. And these are things that we didn't have before in the past or weren't overly concerned with. So now we can take a look for each of those individual people, whether they're covered or not covered under their insurance. So I can pop this open and see some additional information about their Social Security numbers or whether they're a full-time student. And again, that helps with the ACA compliance. So if you look through, and I know we're running out of time now, but if you look through, you might say, oh my gosh, there's like so much stuff there. However, I mean, it's going to follow a basic flow. You've got an employee, you've got some kind of pay codes in your system and benefits and deductions, and perhaps some paid time off and policies around that, and then some ACA health insurance information and dependents. So really, it looks like a lot of codes, but as you go through and set them up, you're just going to use the ones that are pertinent to your organization or to your particular employees. And once those are set up and in place, maintenance becomes a very, very simple process. So if you have any questions, I highly recommend now that you submit those to the Q&A panel, and we will be happy to answer any questions that we can. And if we can't, we will certainly track down the answers to those in short order. And so now I'm going to flip this back over to the presentation, if Augustina would be so kind to do that. And we'll see if we have any Q&A questions. I imagine there'll be some, since we went through a lot of the features rather quickly. Did we get any questions, Augustina or Caroline?
Let's see. Let's wait one more minute, see if there's any questions from the our attendees. Okay, great. Yeah, looks like we do have a couple of questions here. So can we separate out your health enrollment, such as dental, health, and vision? That would be one question.
Okay. Yes, we absolutely can. Under human resources, we have those divisions built in automatically. So each one of those is a separate setup, so that you can track different information against all of those, rather than just having a big bucket and saying, here's all my insurance or here's all my benefits. You can actually split them into individual categories. That's a very good question.
Great, and looks like we have another question here. If I reject an employee's benefit submission, will I be able to re-enter that?
Yeah, when you reject, you have an option to either reject it or delete it. So it's really up to you. If you reject it, then you're sending it back to the employee for some additional information or something that was incorrectly answered, and then they can make that change and send it back. It does not have to be rekeyed in. The employee can take it from there and make the changes, and really the only time you would have to rekey it is if you completely were to. Are there any other questions?
Looks like we don't have any more questions. Oh wait, there's other questions. Let's see. Okay, great. Yeah, I just got a few other questions. With what remote automatic time clock systems does GP currently integrate? Does this to speed the time card entry? For example, Crohn's, I guess that's one of the questions.
Oh, like a time card system like Kronos. I have seen GP integrated with a number of those. Pretty much any of the standard ones we can integrate with that. It's very simple to do the mapping for those. They have basic key elements to them. So I would say unless you have a time card system that's really, really antiquated, if it's something like Kronos or some of the more modern time card systems, we would be able to pull that information into GP so that your HR and payroll people would not have to rekey that information. That's a good question.
Right. Let's go for another question. So if I want to use the independent setup but fully insure and do not need a 95 Cs, can I use that? Can I still use that? That's from Patricia.
Okay. I guess what you're asking is, could you use just the HR module? That sounds like what you're asking.
I think she's saying 1095 Cs. She meant actually.
Okay.
1095 Cs. Yeah.
So you just want to be able to do the tracking of compliance with ACA from the HR module, which you can do. HR and payroll obviously are interconnected, and you can use either of those applications, but a lot of the ACA information does reside within the HR module, just as a FYI.
Okay. We have another question. Does each employee need a user license to implement SelfService?
They would need to have, your users would need to have a SelfService license, and those are significantly less than a regular GP license would be.
Okay. Another question from Denise. If I have just payroll module, how does my information get into HR module?
So if you have payroll, you could go ahead and register HR, but you will need to have HR for some of those ACA codes.
Let's see here. Will I have to re-enter employees' information into the human resources module manually?
I'm assuming that you haven't been using HR previously, and I'm not sure about for the folks who have not used that previously. That's something that we'll have to get back with you on.
Okay, well, we'll get back to Denise regarding that. Great. Thank you, Jackie. Mm-hmm. Any other questions from our attendees at this moment? Let's see.
I can tell from the number of questions it's a very hot topic with folks.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any more questions. I'm just going to cover really quick our support. MIG plans are reliable and consistent support service program for businesses that are running Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics. And some of our support benefits include support with Dynamics products, support with any related third-party add-ons, fixed rate plans, and if you need more information, please let us know. Send us an email at info@mig.com. For training, so MIG training can be customized to your needs. Some of our training benefits include various training options. They're all available with our support plans, and we also have group discounts. Again, if you need more information, please let us know. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a survey that will appear. The survey is designed to help us evaluate and improve our webinars, so please take a few minutes to provide us with some feedback. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much for taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.